Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I just want to say before we begin, I am very sorry for the late upload. I had this really bad virus that has been going around the UK and it's been absolutely miserable. I haven't felt up to making uploads, and if I'd made an upload it would have been absolutely terrible because I've just been wheezing the whole time, sniffing like just the whole time. So I'm very sorry, but I'm feeling a lot better now and I feel up to making a video. I do hope you're having a great day and I'll let you get on with the video. I hope you do enjoy. Within From Software's lore, they absolutely love to make complex characters, and you know, you'd think, since we know this, that we'd stop taking characters at face value, but we haven't. We just simply haven't. Whatever's easiest, we take at face value, and a great example of this would be Shabriri. We at face value class him as evil without trying to take into perspective. Why is Shabriri evil? How is Shabriri evil? Is he even evil at all? And in today's video, I aim to explain to you why Shabriri is in fact not evil. How Shabriri is in fact a casualty and a victim of the lands between, and more so, the Golden Order. The first thing people love to say when they try to tell everyone that Shabriri is evil is the nomadic merchants. Apparently, according to some people, he lied about the nomadic merchants and got them imprisoned for some heinous crime. Where does it say this? It doesn't. People just like to assume that Shabriri is the cause of this. There comes with a contradiction between Shabriri and the nomadic merchants. They both say, in both different item descriptions, that they both caused the awakening and summoning of the frenzied flame. But how could this be? It is a blatant contradiction. So how? Well, have any of you considered that maybe Shabriri is a nomadic merchant? This would explain a lot. Shabriri is said to be the beginning of the Frenzied Flame's chaos, but so is the nomadic merchants. What if this unknown heinous crime, that by the way is never stated to be the Frenzied Flame, that is just some misconception. From my knowledge, it never actually says anywhere that that was the crime. They were locked away, the men, the women and the children. Can you imagine the agony, the screams, the pain? The children who just want to go back and see the sunlight. They wanted all this, and in this agony, Shabriri, a nomadic merchant, summoned the frenzied flame, and they were consumed, and that was the beginning. But this whole they all lost their mind thing is bullshit in of itself, because Shabriri's still standing. People like Kael, who are descendants of these nomadic people, are still alive. And notice how all the nomadic people were locked away, and yet there's no children there. All the people there are adults, women or male, but there are no children. Why is this the case? Why is there no children if they were all locked away? I don't have this answer for you, but we do know that Kael isn't one of these children, for he talks about the nomadic merchants as his ancestors. Would you go around talking about your mum or your dad or your grandparents as your ancestors? You just wouldn't. You just wouldn't. You'd probably talk about your ancestors as in your great grandparents, that kind of thing. You wouldn't talk about your parents that way. We really can't trust Kael. Now, that isn't saying he's untrustworthy. It's coming from a point of view that he wasn't actually there. He wasn't an eyewitness. It doesn't make any sense for him to be able to know more than the people actually there. Of course, stories can be passed down through generations, but it's never going to be the full story. Like, I have ancestry 450, 500 years ago, back to civil wars in England, and I know the person I'm descended from. I know the good he did, but I never knew him personally. I never knew the kind of guy he was. So I can't fully know the true story, or the full story, as in an eyewitness can. And that goes for a lot of Elden Ring's lore. For in Bloodborne, it seems that we write the lore. At least that's my understanding of it. We write in our notebook and we take this and we write it. But I don't think we're privy to that same sort of aspect inside of Elden Ring. So you've got to think and look at these item descriptions and think, are these the truth? It really heavily reminds me of J.R.R. Martin's book Fire and Blood, where it directly contradicts each other and it's wrote each chapter and each bit, they're all wrote by different people inside of the worlds of the Song of Ice and Fire. So I think it's kind of the same here. Not to mention that George R.R. Martin is in fact a really big part of Elden Ring's development and the development of its story. So it really would make sense if this was the case. And I think it's something that not many people or anyone have really considered. Oh, what you're talking about in these item descriptions, actually the truth. Definitely bloody not. At least in my opinion, I think there's a lot of item descriptions that have probably been misinterpreted or were just straight out false. History is, after all, as I said, written by the victors. In Cale's cut dialogue, he talks about, if that is what they want us to be, then so shall we be. But they were already consumed by the frenzied flame. This is what he says before he goes and tries to become one with the frenzied flame and to be branded like we do in the frenzied flame ending. But if he actually knew these people, he'd know that they were consumed. Not everyone lost their mind. Obviously, by us going there right then, they did. But actually, have we considered that maybe they didn't lose their mind and they're just protecting themselves from their long imprisonment? You've got to think, we're probably the first people they've seen in a very, very long time. Probably since Vike, who we know was branded by the Three Fingers. So maybe they hadn't even lost their mind. Perhaps as we stumble down, they're shitting themselves playing their violins and they're just like, oh fucking hell. And then they just run and start spewing their incantations at us scared. This could be said for a lot of enemies. A lot of enemies just attack us. That doesn't mean they've lost their mind. Shabriri saw the hate and the decay of the lands between, and he simply wanted to burn it all away. A fresh start to be added onto all the decay and horror that he witnessed. He saw that there would be no end to the Golden Order, for, like a hydra, you cut off one of their heads, thus will a new head arise. I think it's actually quite a reasonable reaction when you've been put up with such things. Trauma is a really hard and difficult thing, and the trauma that Shabriri was put through was immeasurable. Another question that comes of this is, how on earth is he immortal? Can we just all just question that for a moment? He quite literally shifts into people's bodies. He quote unquote had permission by a certain samurai ass motherfucker. But did he? Well, I think he probably did, because he knows the suffering. Why would he just randomly take someone's body? Shabriri is really misunderstood, and I think people like to just assume things about him when they know really nothing about him, for we can't ever know the true story, for we never knew a person who was there. We simply cannot know. Something we can know, though, is when this happened. Now, I think a lot of people like myself like to think that this whole Frenzy Flame situation happened way, way before the Shattering, but I actually don't think it did. For Morgoth's seal is in fact on the cage that entombs the Frenzy Flame. Maybe it was guarded and then some escaped, them being the children, and Morgoth put his seal on years later. But I don't know, I have this... It seems to me that this happened when Morgoth was in power, which was in the wake of the Shattering. This seems like the biggest answer to me. And it also... It sort of messes with my head a little bit, because I think we all have this preconception that Shabriri is pre-Shattering and very primeval, and maybe it is, but from the evidence we have, it really seems to contradict that. Some people know the Frenzy Flame ending as the bad ending, and yet no one talks about it as such. Everyone talks in joy and laughter at the Frenzy Flame ending. May chaos take the world. All that kind of shabam. No one really calls it the bad ending. I've seen people put quotes between bad ending because is it truly that bad to want to go back to a state where the world was numb and there wasn't that suffering? Of course, Melina says there's beauty in that suffering, but that's coming from someone who is of Marika's bloodline. You know, she hasn't truly experienced that which she cannot experience as an immortal being. I feel like it really resonates with a lot of people, even bringing a lot of similarities to our world, which I think was definitely intentional by From Software. Our world is such filled with decay and rots and hate that some people think that perhaps it's better for it simply to all be burnt away, which seems quite familiar, doesn't it? I truly believe Shabriri is a metaphor for the state of our world, and the state that some people have been forced into, where they believe that simply burning it all away is the best option, to burn away everything and everything to become ash once more. A fresh start from all the suffering. That seems to be the unspoken agreement between a lot of people when discussing the Frenzied Flame, and it really shows how dire of a state our world is in. Sadly everyone, that is the end of the video. If you did enjoy, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, as it truly and greatly helps the channel. I wanted to say thank you so much for 2.8 thousand subscribers. Honestly, all this support blows my mind, and I absolutely love doing this. I'm just sorry the last month or so I haven't uploaded much. There's just been so much going on, and then once I was feeling slightly better, I started having this cold and this virus, and I just wasn't able to upload. If you like this type of content, then please let me know down below, as it lets me know that you are actually enjoying this style of content and that you want to see more. I'm not going to keep you any longer because, well, I'm sure you have more important things to do than listen to me ramble. So, I really hope you do have a great rest of your day and night. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the next one, and may you find your worth in the waking world. Goodbye everyone.